W.D. Ross was a 20th century British philosopher. Like Kant, he was a deontologist and was opposed to consequentialism, so he thinks that the right thing to do is to do your duty. But unlike Kant, he was a pluralist. This means that he rejects the idea that morality can be reduced down to one supreme principle like the categorical imperative. Instead, there was a plurality of basic moral rules. So you can reduce moral judgments down to a number of basic components, or basic principles, but not down to, you can't reduce them any further to one single one. Kant's ethics has some unattractive features. If a madman with an axe knocks on your door and asks where your friend is so he can kill him, and you know where your friend is, Kant's ethics at first glance appears to imply that it would be morally wrong for you to lie to the man in an attempt to thwart his attempt to murder your friend. Ross argues, surprisingly, that Kant is mistaken about this. Yes, we do have a duty to tell the truth, but it seems like we have duties to friends and duties to safeguard other people's well-being. So Ross introduces what he calls prima facie duties. Now, there are 7 of them, and the idea is that no one duty absolutely overrides all others. Some of these duties, they will count in favour of doing the action, and some of them may count against. I want to go through the 7, but let's just start with the first one, and explain a bit more. So, duties of fidelity. So we have duties of fidelity, and this includes duties of promise keeping, to avoid lying and deception. We're thinking of lying to this madman. That clearly the duty of fidelity counts against doing that, but that doesn't mean that it's wrong, because we haven't looked at the other duties yet, and some of the other duties may count in favour, and they may override the one saying counting against the action. There may be many duties counting in favour of lying. We have duties of reparation for harm done, so an act that would right a wrong. We have duties of gratitude. This involves returning favours or repaying people for helping us. Duties of justice is a very textbook definition here, involves distributing benefits among persons according to merit. We have duties of beneficence, and this involves actions that increases another's pleasure and reduces their pain, or helps others improve their character and intelligence. A bit of utilitarianism sort of sneaking in here. Duties of self-improvement, so we have a prima facie duty to perform actions that would improve our character or intelligence, and we have duties of non-maleficence. So we have a prima facie duty to avoid injuring others. Actions that injure others provide a moral reason to avoid such actions. So this may appear like a random list of 7, like why these? Now, Ross does think that we may have other prima facie duties, but they will all derive from these 7 basic prima facie duties. Also, they don't need any proof. He doesn't go out of his way to prove why it's these 7. He says that they are self-evident. In fact, he says that they are self-evident just like mathematical axioms or the validity of a form of inference are. So we've got all these prima facie duties, and some of them may count in favour of an action, some may count against. But how do we know what we're actually supposed to do? So this is what Ross calls our proper duty or our actual duties. Now, there is no formula for working these out. Instead, it just comes down to our moral judgment. And this isn't some spooky, abstract Kantian thing. This is literally our capacity to weigh competing moral considerations and determine which of them is the most overriding, the most potent. He says that making moral judgments is like making aesthetic judgments about beauty or art. To bring it back to what we said earlier, we said that we have a duty of fidelity, and that counts against lying to the murderer, but perhaps the duty of beneficence and the duty of non-maleficence, they probably count in favour of lying, because we're trying to save our friend. So we can use our moral judgment and weigh these things up, and it may turn out, and hopefully we come up with the judgment that lying in order to save our mate's life, that is probably the right thing to do in that situation. So certain duties, the duties of beneficence and non-maleficence, outweigh the duty of fidelity, and we can lie to the madman to save our mate's life. So that's a little summary of Ross, W.D. Ross, and his prima facie duties. Thanks for watching. See you next time.